Chapter 34, Time for Dinner. Okay, remember when we said that grief was the strongest thing a person could feel? Well, it isn't. It's forgiveness, because a single act of forgiveness can change everything. With the bones still tight in his paw, the rat looked deeply into the princess's eyes, and for the first time the princess looked into the rat's. Sometimes you can tell someone you're sorry without saying a word. Roscuro threw the bone to the ground. "No," he said. "What?" cried Botticelli. "What? Why, you worthless little—" The chant grew louder. "Eat, eat, 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 eat." Furious, Botticelli snatched up the bone and banged the gong himself. The crowd stormed the Colosseum floor, trampling one another to be the first to get to P. Despereaux arrived just as the wave of rats rushed toward the princess. "Ah!" P screamed. Despereaux gasped. What could a single mouse do against this, he thought, looking around the arena. Rats were everywhere. Some were already climbing onto the princess. The only thing free of rats was the cat's cage, tucked in a corner. Despereaux looked at the top of the cage where the large wheel that released the cat was left unguarded. He wove through the mass of rats toward the cage. The cat, as if remembering the little mouse, hissed at Despereaux through the bars. It looked ravenous, and this time the mouse welcomed the cat's hunger. He climbed up the side of the cage and grabbed the wheel. "Ah!" P screamed again. Rats had already reached her neck and barred their fangs. They swarmed all over her. Despereaux turned the wheel. The cage door creaked open and the cat squeezed through. It burst into the Colosseum with a snarl as loud as a tiger's. "Who let him out?" Botticelli demanded. The cat extended his claws and slashed at everything in his path. Each swipe sent rats flying into the air. From the top of the cage, Despereaux watched the rats scatter and scream. "Hey, you!" said a voice behind him. Despereaux spun around. Towering over him, two rats held bones over their heads like clubs. He grabbed his sword just as the rats swung. Despereaux blocked them both in one move. "Get him!" Botticelli yelled, pointing Despereaux out to the others. More rats, armed with bones and spears, raced to the top of the cage to join the fight. The mouse was surrounded. "Ha!" a rat exclaimed, aiming his weapon at the mouse's feet. Despereaux hopped over it and retaliated with a jab that knocked the rat's hat off. Despereaux's sword was a blur, swiping in all directions. Another rat struck at Despereaux and missed, but the others were closing in. They stabbed at the mouse with long spears and forks. Despereaux ducked and darted. He ran through the rat's legs and leaped on the wheel as more rats scrambled up the side of the cage. The fight raged on, with the mouse and several rats trying to balance on the wheel, spinning underfoot. Roscuro and P watched helplessly. From the corner of his eye, Despereaux saw the wheel's handle and stepped on it. The wheel whizzed around at a blurring, blinding speed and sent the rats flying. Despereaux was thrown too. He dropped over the side of the cage. At the last moment, he caught the edge of the roof with his paw and hung on for his life. P looked at Despereaux's feet swinging in midair. Her eyes widened in fear. Using all his strength, the mouse raised his upper body over the side of the cage to find someone waiting there for him. "If it isn't our brave little knight," Botticelli said, sneering in the mouse's face. With one paw, he grabbed Despereaux by the neck and raised him above his head. And it seems he came just in time for dinner. "No!" cried P. I wonder," said the rat, pulling a blade from his belt. "Should I finish you off myself or turn you into cat food?" Botticelli dangled the mouse over the edge of the cage where just below the snarling cat snapped at the heels of the tasty offering.